I want you to try a little visualization with me. If you're driving, please keep your eyes open, but for everyone else, just for a second. Picture yourself back at 15.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday morning. You're in a beige room, fluorescent lights are humming, and you were just staring at that clock on the wall watching this secondhand pick.
I can hear it.
And then suddenly, a bell rings. It's this loud, jarring sound. You grab your backpack, shuffle into a crowded hallway, and you walk maybe 40 feet to another, almost identical beige room for another 45 minutes.
And you do this 6, 7 times a day.
Exactly. You're memorizing the causes of the War of 1812 in one room, and then 5 minutes later, you're trying to nail down the quadratic formula in the next.
It's almost haunting how universal that memory is, that industrial rhythm, the bells, the segments. It just feels, I don't know, inevitable.
It feels like that's just what school is, like it's a law of nature. But here's the conflict, and it's a huge one. We aren't in the industrial era anymore. We're in 2026. We have generative AI in our pockets. We have this superabundance of information and these massive, messy problems, climate change, algorithmic bias, that don't fit into a neat 45-minute history block.
And that's the core tension we're diving into today. The system most of us grew up in was designed for workforce compliance in a factory age. It was about following instructions, showing up on time.
Not rocking the boat.
Exactly. But the economy today doesn't reward compliance. It rewards adaptation. And yet, for the most part, the bells are still ringing.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this fascinating and honestly pretty radical source. It's called Cognitive Cauldrons, Reimagining Education for Sovereign Minds.
That's a great title.
It is. Cognitive Cauldron sounds a little bit like we're about to brew potions at Hogwarts.
It does have that magical flair, doesn't it? But the magic here is actually deeply grounded in learning science. The source is arguing for a massive paradigm shift.
A huge one.
We're talking about moving from classrooms, which are for delivering content, to what they call cognitive studios, these cauldrons.
And the goal is something the author calls cognitive sovereignty. That's a heavy term.
It is. It's about owning your own mind, the capacity to construct knowledge, not just consume it. But before we get to the solution, we really have to get why the current system is so broken.
Right. The silo effect.
The source spends a lot of time on that, the fragmented curriculum.
And this is something we just accept as normal. But when you look at it through a cognitive science lens, it is just bizarre, slicing up knowledge into these separate subjects: math, English, science.
Taught in total isolation by specialists who often never even talk to each other about what they're teaching.
And think about what that does. The source gives this perfect example that just highlights the absurdity of it all.
Oh, the one about the exponential functions.
Yes. So a student might study exponential functions in math class at 9:00 a.m. An hour later, they're in biology talking about population growth.
And then in the afternoon, maybe in an economics elective, they learn about compound interest.
And to the student, those are three totally different things. Population growth is a biology fact. Compound interest is a money thing.
Stored in 3 separate folders in the brain, but they're all the exact same underlying mathematical principle. And because of the silo effect, the student never connects the dots. They never see the pattern.
Which leads to this concept the source brings up called inert knowledge. It just sounds awful, like a heavy rock in your brain you can't lift.
It's a classic term from education research. Inert knowledge is information that you've, technically learned. You can pass the test on it, but it's stuck. It's stuck in the context where you learned it.
So you can't use it.
You can't mobilize it for a real-world problem.
This explains that classic student complaint. When am I ever going to use this? I said that so many times I thought I was just being difficult.
But the source argues it's not a student attitude problem. It's a structural failure of the curriculum.
Absolutely.
If you learn about a tool but never see it build anything, you don't really understand the tool. You've just memorized its shape. And here's the really interesting part. From a systems perspective, we don't keep these silos because they're better for learning. We know they aren't.
It's for management.
Purely for management. It's logistics. It simplifies budgeting, scheduling, teacher credentialing. You hire a math teacher, not a complexity navigator.
The system is optimized for the filing cabinet, not the brain.
That's a great way to put it. And the urgency to change is so much higher now because of our information environment. We're not dealing with scarcity anymore. We're dealing with what the source calls epistemic turbulence.
I love that phrase.
It's perfect, isn't it? It used to be the school's job to give you the information because it was hard to get. Now information is everywhere. Some of it is generated by algorithms, some is hallucinated.
So the problem is flipped. It's not about finding the water. It's about not drowning in the flood.
Precisely. The challenge isn't getting the info, it's navigating it. And if your brain is organized in silos, you can't navigate that turbulence. You just get tossed around.
Okay, so let's pivot to the solution. This studio-based curriculum architecture, the cognitive cauldron. If I walk into a school using this model, what do I see?
You definitely aren't seeing rows of desks. You're seeing something that looks more like a collaborative workshop, an architecture firm. The source uses the example of High Tech High in California.
Right.
Instead of taking 6 classes that change every hour, students might spend 8 weeks in a studio investigating one massive problem.
And the example was water scarcity, which is a huge real-world issue.
Yes. So imagine you're 15, you aren't taking science, you're on the water project. To do that, you have to learn chemistry, not for a test, but to analyze the water quality of a nearby stream.
So it's needed for the project.
You have to learn math to model usage patterns. You study civics to understand water policy. And you use humanities to tell the stories of the communities affected.
So you're learning chemistry because you needed to solve the puzzle. It's just-in-time learning, not just in case.
That's a perfect way to put it. And here's the kicker. It doesn't end with a multiple-choice exam. It ends with a public exhibition.
They have to defend their work.
To a panel of actual scientists, policymakers, community members. The stakes are real.
That changes everything. I remember making dioramas that my teacher would give me a B+ on, and I'd just toss them. But if I have to stand up in front of a real scientist and explain my data...
You're going to make sure you know what you're talking about. That social pressure, that accountability, it's key. And the research on problem-based learning supports this. When the brain wires information to a real application, retention just goes through the roof.
You're not just memorizing, you're using.
You're building neural pathways connected to action, not just storage.
They also mentioned Olin College of Engineering, which was fascinating. They basically got rid of traditional departments.
They did. At a normal engineering school, you take Thermodynamics 101. It's dry, it's theoretical. At Olin, you learn thermodynamics while building a project that requires it. A physicist and a designer might be co-teaching the same studio.
It models the real world. You don't encounter physics problems in the wild. You encounter messy problems that happen to have physics in them.
Exactly.
Now, I can hear a skeptic, maybe a concerned parent, saying, this sounds fun, but what about the basics? Are they just Googling everything? What if they miss fundamentals? Which brings us to technology.
A crucial point. The source is very clear. This isn't about letting AI write your essays. It's about what they call adaptive learning architectures.
Right. Tools like Khan Academy or Summit Learning. How do those fit in? Aren't they just lectures on a screen?
Think of those tools as the base layer. They're incredibly good at the knowledge transmission part, teaching you how to factor a polynomial, for example. They let you speed up or slow down.
They give you instant feedback.
Right. So we should offload that delivery work to the software. Let the computer teach the procedure.
And that frees up the human teacher to do what exactly?
To do what humans do best. They stop being a content delivery system and they become a coach, a facilitator. They diagnose misconceptions. They mentor the projects. They move from being the sage on the stage to the guide on the side.
So tech isn't replacing teachers. It's elevating them to a higher order job.
Precisely. And there's another layer to this. Epistemic competence.
Another big term. What's that?
It means knowing how to handle knowledge itself. In a world of AI, a student needs to know how to evaluate an answer, not just get one. They need to spot bias, to understand how knowledge is constructed.
So instead of banning AI, we lean into it.
Yes, but as a thinking partner, the student maintains agency. You use AI to generate ideas, maybe, but you, the human, are the one verifying it, critiquing it. It's the difference between asking the GPS, where do I go, and actually checking the map to see if it's sending you off a cliff.
That's a great analogy. It makes the student the driver, not the passenger, which totally changes how we define success. A Scantron sheet seems pretty useless for all this.
It is useless. The source argues timed, standardized tests just measure recall and speed. And algorithms have perfect recall and instant speed. If that's what we're testing, we're training students for obsolescence.
We're training them to be second-rate computers.
Exactly.
So the alternative is performance assessment.
Right. The source points to the New York Performance Standards Consortium. These are public schools that have waivers from most standardized tests. Instead of bubbling in answers, students build portfolios.
Not just a folder of old homework, I'm guessing.
No, this is serious work. Analytic essays, original science experiments, mathematical models, and then, like a PhD defense, the student has to sit before a panel and defend their work orally.
Why did you choose this variable? What would happen if the data changed?
Exactly, those kinds of questions.
I love that. It respects the student's intellect. It says, you are a creator of knowledge. And the data backs it up, right?
It does. Students from these schools persist in college at higher rates because they know how to think, how to manage projects, how to communicate, they have agency.
But to do this, you can't be a lone wolf teacher.
No, the whole faculty structure has to change. The source mentions EL education. Teachers there work in cohort teams. A science, history, and English teacher might...
Collaboration they want from the students.
You have to. You can't teach collaboration if you're working in isolation.
Okay, so this all leads to the ultimate goal, sovereign minds. Let's break down what cognitive sovereignty actually looks like.
It's the capacity to navigate complexity, construct knowledge on your own, and maintain agency. To not just be a passive recipient.
The source mentions metacognition as a key piece.
Right. Thinking about thinking. A traditional student might hit a hard problem and say, I'm just bad at math. It's a dead end.
A fixed mindset.
In a cognitive studio, we teach them to diagnose their own confusion, to ask, what strategy can I use here? Do I need to draw a diagram? It's shifting from I can't to how do I learn this?
It's giving them the dashboard to their own brain.
Yes. The second component is adaptive expertise. The source makes this really critical distinction between routine expertise and adaptive expertise.
Yeah, what's the difference?
Routine expertise is doing a known procedure quickly and accurately, long division, writing a standard 5-paragraph essay.
Things computers are really good at.
Exactly. Routine expertise is automatable. Adaptive expertise, on the other hand, is the ability to invent a new solution when the standard procedure fails. It's taking a concept from biology and applying it to urban planning. That's the human value add.
If we only train for routine expertise, we're training kids to be replaced.
We are. And the final piece is ethical formation. This isn't about telling students what to believe. It's about practicing how to navigate dilemmas with no clear right answer.
So not just solving the problem, but asking about the impact of the solution.
Yes. Whose story are we leaving out in this documentary? What are the environmental impacts here? You're building the muscle of responsibility in real time.
So bringing it all together, we started with the factory model, the Bell schedule, and we've walked through this vision of the cognitive cauldron, the studio, the tech, the new assessments. It's a massive shift.
It's a journey from compliance to sovereignty.
And the source makes a bold claim at the end, that this isn't just a nice to have, it's an existential necessity.
I think the source is absolutely right on this. If we keep training students to be dependent consumers of facts, they will be outmatched by algorithms. An algorithm will always be faster at retrieving facts.
You will always win Trivial Pursuit.
Always. But if we train them to be sovereign thinkers who can ask the right questions, synthesize across domains, act with wisdom, they survive. They thrive.
It's the difference between being the tool and being the user of the tool.
That is the perfect way to put it.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today. In a world where the factual answer to almost any question is instantly available, what becomes the most valuable human skill? Is it the ability to ask the right question? Or is it the wisdom to know what to do with the answer?
That is the question every educator, parent, and learner needs to be asking right now.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Keep thinking.